Okay, now let's turn to the Middle East, where there have been huge developments, with Hamas being urged yet again to relinquish power. The Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has urged the terror group to cede power in Gaza. He called on Hamas to step aside from governing and fully recognise that the battle ahead will lead to the end of Palestinians' existence. Okay, well, to discuss, let's bring in now filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, great to have you on the program. You're in Israel right now. Look, the Palestinian Authority would, of course, be better than Hamas, but Benjamin Netanyahu has said he doesn't think that this would be a good outcome for the new governing body in Gaza. What's your view here?
Yeah, let's be clear about a couple things. First thing is the Palestinian Authority was in lockstep with Hamas in terms of the destruction of the state of Israel and attacking Israeli citizens, right? How do we know that? First of all, many attacks prior to October 7th, in fact, did emanate from the Palestinian Authority. And the Palestinian Authority had, up until a month ago, I wonder what happened a month ago to change that dynamic, was paying Palestinian prisoners and their families who committed acts of terror in the state of Israel. Well, they've changed their tune a little bit, and that is not because, or I should say it is directly because, Donald Trump is president of the United States. They were not held accountable under the Biden administration, but now they understand that Trump is here, and in business, they're taking it a little bit more seriously and now trying to walk away from Hamas. Also, I want to make something very clear. Like, I've spent a lot of time in the Palestinian Authority after October 7th, talking to Palestinians on the street. And one thing I got to tell you is that support for Hamas was steadfast across the Palestinian population.
This is in the West Bank, Ami? This is in the West Bank?
Correct. That's right. They see Hamas as striking back against the Jews and against Israel, and they love that.
Wow, so this is an issue. And just to pick up on something you said there, you were talking about this pay for slay policy where the Palestinian Authority gives lifelong salaries or payments to the families of people who become martyrs, who commit terror attacks. And so that's part of this perpetuating of terrorism that's been such a problem. Now, you've got a new documentary examining the ethics of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. Can you tell us what you found, what you concluded during your reporting and filming?
Yeah, it's so interesting when you listen and talk to people on the left or people who are ignorant about actually what's happening on the ground in Gaza. And they talk about, look, have Palestinian children been killed? Of course they have. This is war. But I think at the end of the day, you do have to look at the statistics. You have to look at data sets and see whether or not the IDF is acting in a moral way or an immoral way. And looking at the data points, I got to say, it's hard to make the argument the IDF, particularly in this conflict, I know it sounds crazy, but in this conflict itself and in conflicts prior, one can make the argument they're the most ethical and moral army that has ever existed. And I'll give you an example what I'm talking about. One data point which puts everything to rest. That in general, when one goes to war in urban warfare conflicts, which is the most devastating of all warfare, because you're essentially fighting within a context of civilians surrounding everywhere you are, everywhere you attack, everywhere you bomb, you are within a civilian population, by definition, urban warfare. That when NATO goes to war, one would argue the most moral army that ever existed, whether it be the Europeans or the United States, in Iraq or Afghanistan or in the Balkans, that 90%, 9 out of 10 of all casualties are in fact civilians, even though they're not trying to target civilians, unlike, let's say, the Russians. Now, in Gaza, which is far more densely populated than Iraq or Afghanistan, far more densely populated, Israel has a 50% casualty rate of civilians. 50% of their targets of their people who are killed are in fact who they're trying to target. And that is an incredibly high number. But of course, Israel doesn't get any credit for that. They're called Nazis. They're saying they're indiscriminately killing. They're saying it's genocide. Nothing could be further from the truth. And we went into the area. We talked to the IDF. We look at data sets. We talked to soldiers who were there actually in the war itself. And they went through everything they go through in order to avoid killing civilian people. around Gaza. And in fact, if you talk to U.S. military and European military leaders, they'll say Israel is giving away tactical advantages by doing the things that they're doing. For example, dropping leaflets, leaving maps of where they're going to attack next. Not
text
bombs,
messages,
like letting you know this building is going to be attacked, and so forth and so on.
Sending text messages as well to entire buildings. Very quickly, where can people see your documentary? Because I'm sure a lot of people are very interested watching this now.
They can go on my YouTube at Ami Horowitz or PragerU's YouTube, and they can watch the full one there.
All right, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.